I am Pardeep Singh.
Myself GaganDeep Singh.
We are making a little attempt to let you know about a Frenchman, Michael Rudel, who had adopted Sikh religion and became Sardar Darshan Singh.
And I would also like you to know that he renounced his French nationality as a protest against French government who do not allow Sikh people to wear turban in the country. We are dedicating this video to our very own Sikh friends and our very rich Sikh virsa.
Let us have a look at the movie.
I come from the south of France. I was born in Montpellier, New Montpellier in the south of France in 1957. My name was, before becoming a Sikh, Michel Rudel, Michael, and I converted to Sikhism and became Darshan Singh later on. So that was originally, but of course I visited many countries. But my first visit to India goes back to 76, 77 during the emergency. And at the time, well, I visited from Kanyakumari to Ladakh, Sri Lanka, so Nepal, several parts of India, and visited Anandpur Sahib and felt impressed with Sikhism at that time. And it goes back to my, at that time, interest, Shuru ho gaya is time. So, 76 and on the way back, 77. So I came overland to India and went back overland to France. And my second visit was in 1980. And since that time I've been wearing a turban, but actually my formal conversion to Sikhism was in 91. So how I came in touch with Sikhism, often simplify by saying that Waheguru da Apana, Waheguru di Kirpa, it is through God's will and through God's grace that I discovered this path. Though I was spiritually aware as a child, and even I was a sevadar in the church, in the Catholic church, in my village. And of course, I was though brought up as a Roman Catholic, I had different ideas which brought me in conflict with my parents and also with the priest in the village. One of those ideas which were in line, very much in line with the teachings of Sikhism, is that I believe that we all come from the same divine source and there is only one God, and I refuse to accept that only Christians or Catholics or any particular community had the monopoly of truth. God has sent prophets to guide humanity, but nobody has the monopoly of truth. God is truth, and so that it is what I believed. And also I refused to cut my hair at a very young age and refused to eat meat. Hair because I believe Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, all prophets, philosophers always kept long hair and beard. And meat because thou shalt not kill, I used to think it should extend to animal life. So my desire was to come to India, though I knew very little, but I had that craving to come, and that's why I said that was God's will. I discovered this country and Sikhism and believe I must have some relation, previous birth in this country, because I cannot even explain the attraction I had. I fell in love with this country and then fell in love with Sikhism and later on got married. So in 91, that was of course for a few years I was away from India because of the situation in Punjab. As you know, since 1984 situation was very bad, and also foreigners were not easily getting access to Punjab, and as a foreigner converted to Sikhism it was quite difficult. He even faced a great deal of hostility in Indian embassies in some cases. So in 91, though the situation was not yet fully normalized, it was still okay, and I had 6 months visa. I spent those 6 months mainly visiting historical gurdwaras all over India. Started in Bombay and then went to Anandpur Sahib and Bidar and Anakjira and several other places. So the idea was like a yatra, but mainly the idea was to learn, get the Sikh routine, and those historical gurdwaras of course had some spiritual and historical significance since our gurus dwelt in those places and some important events took place. So mainly I used to do seva in Langar di Seva, Jode di Seva, and morning I used to sit to listen to Nitnem and started to practice. Though I spent some time in England to learn how to, I went to evening class to learn how to read Gurmukhi and started my practice in Southall, which is New London, kind of mini Punjab. And there I spent 10 years mainly with one elderly couple. I call them my Chacha and Chachiji, like my second parents. They are originally farmers from near Moga. So I spent most of the time with them and always go back whenever I go back to England. I always stay with them. And my Chachiji was a Puran Amridhari Gursikh, and of course it was an ideal place to be. There I worked in a bakery to support myself, and as I mentioned, I went to attend evening class to learn Punjabi and English also to improve my English because I'm a French-born British national now, and my English had to be improved. And I attended the GCSE course in Southall College in Southall. And of course, after completing nursing and first aid courses, I joined the British Red Cross as a voluntary member, since the Red Cross is also doing seva to humanity and without making any difference between caste or creed or race or political or religious ideas. So it was an ideal chance to do seva, especially at that time. I mentioned also I traveled to many countries. Of course, I faced problems, especially in Japan, because being a Frenchman there, I was told that it was easy to teach French without being a qualified French teacher. The only problem was that with the turban, and I didn't look like a Frenchman, and of course I felt some people were kind of puzzled, and I had difficulties getting jobs. And even one Englishman told me that the only chance will be to cut your hair and remove your turban, then only you will be able to teach. But Waheguru Di Kirpa was able to get some private students, and gradually things improved, and I was able to spend 1 year in Japan also learning horticulture, landscape gardening mainly, and Japanese painting. Why I converted to Sikhism? I told many people, probably because nobody tried to convert me to Sikhism. It is not a religion. We are not, I believe we are not born a Sikh. We are Jadu Avaz Andro, that comes from our own voice that comes from within, and also this is through God's grace. I renounced my French nationality as a protest. I told the French authorities, since you don't recognize my Sikh identity, I won't recognize my French nationality, and I applied to renounce my French nationality, and I'm no longer a French national. That was a protest against secular discrimination in the name of secularism and integration, which people are supposed to give up their culture, their religion, to be integrated in the French society. So that was another point. I had to renounce my nationality. So you don't have to go through all these things. So you are very fortunate. Remember that. Aim has been to be always to be a farmer. And this is why actually I went back to agriculture, and that was a dream, long life dream, to settle near Anandpur Sahib and become a farmer there. And so I became formally Darshan Singh after taking Amrit from Anandpur Sahib in '91 from Keshkar Sahib. And so I wanted to buy land actually and settle near Anandpur Sahib, because it is like my second birthplace, Duja Janamastan, and I wanted to be near that place, described as a backward area, but an area where also in Punjab still the water is clean, there is no pollution, an ideal place to do organic farming. Because since my very young age, I believed in organic farming was the only way of doing farming, because it is in harmony with Mother Nature and without spoiling the environment, and also to produce healthy food. Of course, organic farming is not a new concept. In India it used to be organic until the Green Revolution, which brought actually maybe increase in food production, but at the same time terrible side effects on people's health, environment, water depletion because of intensive rice cultivation in a state which is not meant for rice because there is not enough rainfall. So we'll have to work very hard to correct those practices, and it is mainly the reason why and my aim is to try to inspire other farmers to follow this way of farming. And farming, as Guru Nanak Dev Ji described it, Uttam Kheti, it is the most noble profession, maybe hard, but at the same time it is a profession that gives satisfaction, and working with nature. And of course once we work with nature, Mother Nature is the God's manifestation, and we can see, we can be closer to God in that.
At the outset, if you ask me, I feel very, very fortunate. I found him in this big crowd. Yeah? And I must have done very good karam somewhere in my past, that I've been able to unite with him in this life. And I would say this past 11 years since our marriage, just a beautiful journey that I've gone through with him.
People ask me why children are cutting their hair, and so of course that it is important. The bana is very important, but unfortunately nowadays Many parents are keeping bana, but while they are lying, cheating, and doing so many things, drinking, and doing so many things which are not in line with Sikhi, children cannot get inspiration. And of course, it is inspiration that should come, and materialism now has taken over. And of course, once children see good people, they will tend to follow their example. And of course, we have, unfortunately, nowadays, we are lacking role models. And if you look at the SGPC, what they are up to, now religion has become political. Politicians, whether it is the Akali Dal or others, they are using religion to promote and earn money, make plenty of money, and also for their own power and their own sake, rather than getting guidance from the spiritual teachings of Gurbani to serve humanity. Unfortunately, this is what is missing. But role models we have plenty throughout Sikh history. Our gurus have shown the path. They have made so many sacrifices. Bhai Taru Singh, Bhai Mani Singh, so many have done so much Gurbani for us. So these are the people we should follow. And now money is not everything. All what we get is through God's grace. And of course, academic studies are important, but we need money to live, but we should not live for money. At the end of the day, intellect, material wealth, health, whatever we can achieve, it is only through God's grace. And what we can also achieve is also our return to God. And once we practice Nam Japna, Kirt Karna, Vandu Chakna, then we cannot go wrong, and also we can inspire others even to follow this path.